Welcome to the development of step number 5, Final Exam, by Andrea de Pilar Contreras, Collaborative Group 22, in the course Research Project, presented to tutor Ernest Suarez Alomía on the 22nd of May 2020. Thousands of people in the world currently suffer from neurobiological development disorders. These alterations encompass a large number of disorders of brain function that generate difficulties of varying intensity in the process of adaptation and social participation, and/or in the performance of basic activities for survival. Therefore, the activity of the subject is limited or altered with respect to what would be usual in subjects with the same age and conditions. These particular biological features are related to alterations in brain circuits and synaptic function, which presents abnormalities in the brain regions. Studies show that the ability to speak two or more languages implies a modification of the brain at two levels: on frontal metabolic activity and on the connectivity between different brain regions, resulting in better cognitive flexibility, word processing with the same morphological route, improvement in creativity and problem solving, speed in charge of tasks, better response processing on the environments, as well as minimizing of the negative effects due to cognitive impairment that generates memory loss and decay of other mental abilities due to death of nerve cells. Therefore, this explanatory research focuses on the possibility that learning one or more foreign language or second languages at an early age intrinsically favors the development of people with neurobiological developmental disorders, whose affectation is mainly in adaptive behavior, in the conceptual domains, social and practical, with the purpose of motivating future studies on the aforementioned hypotheses that favor the development of individuals from the education of languages that are still unexplored. Therefore, the statement of the problem is: can the teaching of foreign languages to children with neurodevelopmental disorders favor in an intrinsically manner their self-control, memory, and adaptive behavior in the conceptual, social, and practical domains? The research objectives are: first, expose the benefits of bilingual and multilingual brains compared to the monolinguals in people with abnormal level of development, based on studies published to date. Second, present the difficulties regarding self-control, memory, adaptive behavior in the social and practical domains, suffered by children with neurobiological development disorders, based on studies published to date. Third, establish a direct relationship between areas that are estimated at the brain level by learning one or more languages that affect later areas in the children with neurobiological development disorders. And fourth, ponder regarding the possible benefits of learning one or more languages for children with developmental disorders that will possibly affect their emotions, learning ability, self-control, and memory in the long term, favoring their long-term development. The implications for this research problem is of great importance, since the population of children in the world diagnosed with neurobiological development disorders is considerable, and although there are specialists who support their scholastic and social performance, the benefits of learning a foreign or second language has not been investigated regarding the benefits in a neurobiological level, which is why this study can support future research both in the linguistic field and in the neuroscientific field, in such a way that new techniques can be generated that allow contributing to the neurobiological development of the mentioned above population, thus affecting people in a positive way on their lives and performance in social, academic, and functional matter. Many neuroscientific studies have proven that the use of more than one language affects the human brain in terms of anatomical structural changes, increasing gray and white matter densities, which represents a powerful cognitive reserve which can delay dementia for approximately 4 years in older adults. Clinical studies on the brain had mapped into the neuroimaging, showing that the regulation of attention, inhibition, cognitive control, motivation, and emotion through connections with prefrontal cortical and posterior cortical and subcortical structures, as well as dorsolateral and inferior prefrontal cortical, regulate attention and cognitive inventory behavior. In the case of the bilingual and multilingual individuals, there are also changes on brain activation on the mentioned parts of the brain, which as a result show a greater neuroplasticity, easiness in task switching, increasing attention and inhibition of distractors, empathy and memory, compared to monolinguals. These can also represent other benefits through the life such as an increase of problem-solving ability, lexical retrieval speed, activating thinking, and cognitive flexibility. On the contrary, prefrontal cortical neuroimaging studies of children with neurodevelopmental disorders show altered brain structures in functions and distinctive circuits, respecting their before-mentioned organizations, as well as in specific pragmatic skills, executive control, and the theory of mind, which affects as its biological self-control, memory, adaptive behavior in the social and practical domains in a greater or lesser manner, depending on the associated symptoms and severity. Interestingly, many of these same areas have been identified as strengths in the cerebral of a bilingual context. Proven studies of animals, normally developing children, and patients with neurodevelopmental disorders show that small changes in the underlying neurotransmitter system give as a result changes on the regulation, attention, cognitive control, motivation, and emotion, proving in that way that prefrontal cortical circuits have very sensitive to their neurochemical environments. The implication of multilingualism for children with neurodevelopmental disorders have not yet been established. A recent synthetic review showed that there is a little evidence in form of clinical management of multilingual children who have neurodevelopmental disorders such as autism spectrum disorder or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. First, because of the lack of access and participation in bilingual opportunities for children with developmental disabilities, and second, because the fact that bilingualism and multilingualism are subjects of cultural bias, bilingual experiences and bilingual advantages do not emerge in a very bilingual context. And there is also the fact that some researchers have struggled that different language might be associated with different brain activations, possibly related to proficiency levels. Reason why the previous studies regarding multilingualism and bilingualism in children with neurodevelopmental disorders, like the ones performed by Ulravelic, Kanskos, Hording, Gibson in 2016, that study clinical implication on the children's brains from the child psychiatry and psychology point of view, show that bilingualism is a potential strategy to improve executive function in preterm infants from pediatric point of view, who study only children within the autism spectrum from psychological point of view are not conclusive, since there is, as authors that clarify in each investigation, that little evidence to support the widely held view bilingual exposure to dementia to the linguistic of social development of linguistic with neurodevelopmental disorders. However, we also know that the available proof of studies in a small and number of methodological high-quality studies is relatively low. Therefore, the implication of multilingualism for clinical management of neurodevelopmental disorders and discuss possible directions for future research are suggested by the author of this review, as well as by the aforementioned authors, in order to determine whether the teaching of foreign languages to children with neurodevelopmental disorders significantly favor other areas of the development. The research paradigm applied in this case is probabilistic and has a positivist model that is determined by previous research. In this case, the researcher considers that the findings of one study can be generalized to another study of a similar kind, regardless that is conducted in a different environment and situations. The research approach applied in this case is deductive, because it's concerned with deducting conclusions from premises or propositions taking into account the abundance of the literature sources and the short time available to complete the study. Another reason for choosing this approach is that it allows the researcher to avoid risk, and it is possible to explain causal relationships between concepts and variables, and to measure concepts quantitatively, as one generalizes researchers' findings to a certain extent. The type of study is applied research. The chosen method was library-based research. because the data was collected from the published literature, enabling the researcher to extract data and information from the published sources. Then, a qualitative analysis of the content was applied to literature, in which opinions are the main focus of interest and were also took as data. The established criteria for the assessment of these opinions were published neurological articles that were based on studies as the research was made. There was also the feedback of the tutor, and it was taken into account as the method requires. The type of study is an applied research, because the researcher was concerned with addressing a problem of the world as she perceived it. The action was oriented to aim to assess, describe, document, and inform people concerned about the phenomenon under investigation. The findings were intended to have immediate and practical value. The population was children from 3 to 18 years old, characterized by being with neurodevelopmental disorders. It was also a content analysis, which is a systematic research method for analyzing and making inferences from text and other forms of qualitative information. It uses a variety of analytic strategies to categorize, compare, and contrast a corpus of data. The key trends and themes are identified through systematic coding of the data. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope this presentation was of your liking. Till the next time, goodbye.